Now, a federal high court sitting in Ado-Ekiti granted bail to rights activist and legal practitioner Dele Farotimi in the case constituted against him by Afe Babalola. Now, he has not been granted bail. That hearing will be December the 20th. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has called for an investigation into the current scarcity of currency notes in commercial banks to address the hardship being experienced by Nigerians. This is Standpoint. I am Precious Amayo. Now, following the ruling by the court, the law firm of Afe Babalola has submitted a petition to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee seeking the removal of lawyer and human rights activist Dele Farotimi from the role of Nigerian legal practitioners. The petition alleged that Farotimi violated certain provisions of the rule of professional conduct for lawyers. They further noted that some statements in Farotimi's book have the potential to inflame the legal profession and society. These statements, they claimed, were made to discredit the Nigerian judiciary, including justices of the Supreme Court, judges of the High Court of Lagos State, and their law firm, and to subject them to ridicule within the legal community, thereby damaging their hard-earned reputation and financial standing. This came after a Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja and Oyo State High Court barred Farotimi from further publishing, selling, circulating, advertising, or distributing the hard or soft copies of the book titled Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. Farotimi was arrested and arraigned before the Federal High Court in Ekiti State, as well as Ekiti State's Magistrates Court at Ado-Ekiti, over the controversial book. The charges revolve around defamation and cyberbullying based on a petition filed by Afe Babalola, who alleged that Farotimi defamed him in his book. According to the police, Farotimi's book accuses Babalola and other sons of corrupting justices of the Supreme Court. Following this arraignment, Farotimi has been remanded in prison. All right, we have a lot to talk about in this particular case that has been ongoing and got Nigerians talking for and against. It's very difficult to find someone who is at the middle in this particular conversation. But let's bring in, we have several guests, but I understand that we have one of them joining us now. Segun Shokbiton, who is the chairman, Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network. He joins us via Zoom. Good to have you join us.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So what do you make of this particular case? It's been on for a while. Nigerians are talking about it for and against. But just your own thought on it.
Well, I think that we have to look at this matter beyond the two combatants, if you like, in the issue of Afe Babalola and Mr. Dele Farotimi. We have to look at it beyond them. I think what we're seeing play out is a reflection of the state of our society and our country. And we have to approach it from that perspective and hope that it is resolved in a manner that Nigeria can move forward, being the better of the result of this very unfortunate situation. So for me, we have to look at the implications with regards to free speech. We have to look at the implications with regards to the rule of law and the respect for the rights of everybody to be and do whatsoever they want to do within the ambits of the law in the country. So I say those things because I think that Chief Afe Babalola has every right to pursue the protection of his reputation that he suffered to build over a 60-year time frame, and Mr. Farotimi has a right to express what he believes to be true freely without impinging on the rights of Mr. Afe Babalola. So it's a balancing act. How does Nigeria as a society come out of this situation, ensuring that we are building a society where everybody can be what they want to be and do what they want to do within the ambits of the law without infringing on the rights of others? And I think for me, those are the underpinning issues.
And when you say that it's a reflection of our society, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, right. So if you look at the whole drama, has evolved in the last 3 weeks. It started with a public outcry, and a report that Dele Farotimi had been apprehended initially by unknown people. And then it became clear that they were policemen, and that they were policemen not from Lagos, but from Ekiti State. All because somebody has filed a petition of defamation or libel against him. Now that, for me, especially as a civil society person, as a good governance advocate, I think that whole approach to trying to bring Farotimi, before the law was too much and was unfortunate. I think it was an abuse of the instruments of state and an excessive show of power in a situation that easily, and for all intents and purposes, as we have now seen, is more of a civil matter. The use of the police, the use of the Cybercrime Act, in this matter now, is also something that we've got to be careful about, so that we don't end up begin to harass people into silence. No society can make progress where people are afraid to speak, but I say that it's a reflection of our society, because I think we all know that in Nigeria, as we speak today, might tends to be right. And the person that wields the greatest influence and that can use the instruments of state and the powers of the state the most will always come up with the upper hand and will always oppress those that may have less influence and less access to the instruments of state. And that's why I say it's a reflection of our society. Generally, big men, rich men tend to get their way, while the poor are left with a different set of rules.
You think that there is a power dynamic playing out here? Dele Farotimi himself is not a small man. I mean, he's well known. He's maybe not in terms, I don't know how much he owns, but in terms of popularity, in terms of name recognition, many would say that he's also not small.
I agree. I think in terms of influence, he's got a voice, he's got a platform, but that's as far as it goes. In terms of resources, access to resources, I don't think anybody would say, for example, that Dele Farotimi is a billionaire. Dele Farotimi didn't donate 10 million pounds, 10 million British pounds, no less, to a foreign university recently. He doesn't have those type of resources as far as we know in the public space. So you're right. You have a point in that when you talk about influence, maybe these are two very influential people, but in two very different ways. So invariably, you still find that there is still a bit of a power play. Somebody who is a big man trying to show a stubborn, loquacious young man to teach him a lesson. For me, I think this is what this is all about. It's just about teaching Dele Farotimi a lesson and getting him to keep quiet. If this was about the reputation of Chief Babalola, this would have been a very, very strong civil libel or defamation case against Farotimi. You will be filing for such amounts that will ruin him for life. The kind of amount that he would not be able to raise, without probably going around and raising crowdfunding money to pay. If this was just about defamation and libel. But it looks as if with the involvement of the police, with the involvement of the Cybercrimes Act, and all of that, picking him up from Lagos and driving it on a 4-5 hour journey, to Ekiti, it looks as if this was just a show of power to teach a small boy some sense.
All right, so let me bring in our guest now who has just joined us in the studio. He is Abayomi Arabambi, who is a Labour Party chieftain. I'm very sure he's not new to Nigerians. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good afternoon, Nigerians. Good
afternoon. So, I know you've been listening. In a few minutes, you've been in the studio to our guest on Zoom, but I want to start with just asking you what you make of this case. Let's also be clear that it is not just Afeat Babalola who has now filed a lawsuit against Dele Farotimi. 2 other lawyers who were mentioned in that book have also filed a lawsuit, so making 3 persons. But this is the major case for now. What do you make of it?
Well, thank you very much. I think we need to be careful, about the concept of defamation, because Dele Farotimi, deliberately committed this act, deliberately. because, I've applied even for the CTC of the judgment in question. It was not even part of that matter, even up to Supreme Court. It was not part of it at all. And for the fact that you represented another client, when they wanted to take possession, it's not a room for you to now libel the entire judiciary, and all those lawyers that have built their reputations. I am even disappointed, even in the NBA president, for him to quickly issue,
Hello, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. You see, I'm even shocked, at the concept of the letter written by the NBA president, to condemn, this issue. Because Babalola, 95-year-old man, he has children, he has grandchildren, he has great-grandchildren. Those children are not under the authority of Farotimi to libel, to damage, to assassinate that name. Because those children will ask questions, about, Grandpa, what happened? Somebody said you're a criminal. You will need to explain to them. But be that is me, this man in question, it is not, today it started. I have a lot of a video where he called a sitting president a criminal, a drug addict. He appeared on a show where he said nobody voted for Tinubu. He voted for himself.
Let's stay on this particular issue. So
it was not today. I could see that guy was defending him.
So we're also not maligning, and I want to speak to you on that issue. So we're also not maligning the character of somebody else, because the case is already in court. But I wanted to ask you, because he said something about power dynamics.
That's what I'm saying.
Almost like is a case of the big dog and the underdog.
That is what I'm saying.
I wanted you to speak to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is not a question of a big man. You don't go, into somebody's house and you deliberately, you now hold the cutlass and say, oh, I'm going to kill your wife, I'm going to kill your children, I'm going to kill everybody. Don't expect that person, not to react. It is a law, it is a law of this that, action and reaction are equal, are opposite. When you attack somebody, with that magnitude, it will also attack you. Now, when you write a book, it is against the law. As a lawyer, it's against the law. You now say the entire judiciary, they are corrupt. In Lagos State judiciary, they are corrupt. If Babalola corrupted judiciary, these are things that you must come to court and provide evidence. If that man is a lawyer, I don't know, but I know in the Evidence Act, you alleges must prove. You must come to the public, bring those justices, whether they will come with you or you will show Nigerians who pay them to be corrupt. But not for you to now, somehow, you make an outlandish claim against such an institution. All the lawyers that, that went to court, even if I'm among them, I'm going to go to court to clear my name, because Ogumiju is an SCN. You understand? You don't just go and think for some reason because some people went to beg Babalola, now they will now retract their, no, they have their name because because you said all of them, they are corrupt. So he need to come out and defend it. He must prove that, those people are corrupt. It's not a question of a big man. Are you getting me? It's not a question. So, we should not trivialize the issue that, it was because of a big man. Babalola has a name to protect. And now that someone decided that, let me malign that name, Babalola are not the lawyer. I want to encourage them. They should go full throttle to court to seek a remedy.
All right, let's bring in someone else into the conversation. I understand we have now Chairman. I thought this was going to be a robust conversation. Chairman, Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network. Sorry, not Chairman. He's the Executive Director of Open Society on Justice Reform Project, Samuel Akbologun. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so I'm sure you've been following the conversation maybe in a minute or two, but I also just want to get your thoughts, which I've done for our two other guests, just generally on this particular situation. It's been playing out, unfolding, evolving, and getting Nigerians talking. What's your own reaction to it?
Well, my reaction is very simple. Everyone that feels like he has been defamed has a right, because, of course, the Constitution gives us the right to freedom of speech and expression. I think that's Section 39 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But also, that freedom is qualified by the fact that you should not speak against, or you should not impugn people's character without cause. Now, of course, Dele Farotimi has made some allegations, weighty as they are, and then Chief Afe Babalola has his right to seek for redress in the proper quarters. But my challenge with Chief Afe Babalola's approach is the fact that he opted to use a rather option that doesn't speak well of his status. The learned Silk is a luminary, is a foremost lawyer, is an epitome of the judiciary himself. Therefore, we would have expected that he would have told the best of lines. But the line that he has taken now makes me not to want to talk about whether or not Farotimi was right or wrong, but whether the pattern of prosecution is right or not. The prosecution is not the right way to go. Defamation should not be a crime. Of course, it was a crime in the Nigerian criminal jurisprudence, criminal legal system, but the jurisprudence behind criminalizing defamation is anti-fundamental right. And for that purpose, international instruments have been to the effect that defamation should be decriminalized. And so forward-looking countries and forward-looking states have taken steps to decriminalize defamation. Evidently, in their anger against against Dele Farotimi, they didn't realize that Ekiti State had decriminalized defamation. And so they took Dele Farotimi, because defamation, of course, you have jurisdiction for defamation is nationwide, or wherever the person that was defamed or the third party got the defamatory character, who become the jurisdiction for defamation. And so they went ahead and then whisked him from Lagos State to Ekiti State, until the likes of Professor Chidode Kalu pointed out that defamation has been decriminalized in Ekiti State. And now they have gone through the office of the Inspector General of Police to prefer charges against Dele Farotimi Esquire in the Federal High Court under the obnoxious Section 24, Sub 1 and B of the Cybercrime Prevention and Prohibition ETC Act. Now, that position they thought was right because, of course, Cybercrime Act came up in 2015. But little did they know again that Section 24 of the Cybercrime Prevention Act has been updated on the 27th of February 2024. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assented a bill for the correction of the Cybercrime Act. And one of the corrections that was made is to decriminalize defamation that as contained in Section 24. So Section 24 can no longer serve for personal vendetta. Section 24 of the Cybercrime Act can no longer operate to criminalize defamation. So Afe Babalola's case, as it is in the Federal High Court.
Mr. Akpologu, if I may come in here, because I want to come in here in the issue of whether Ekiti State has decriminalized defamation or not, because different lawyers have different views on this. I was listening to Jite Oguye, who spoke on one of the programs in a station here and said he had called the Attorney General and who said that, look, that law has not been decriminalized in Ekiti State. So whether or not it's neither here nor there. But I want to take the conversation back to Mr. Sokpito, who is also joining us virtually. Mr. Sokpito, in terms of, because I listened to Mr. Akpologu talking about how this case is being prosecuted, and we have the civil law in terms of defamation. There is a criminal law, and Mr. Afe Babalola has decided to go with the criminal law, which is still valid in most states in Nigeria. I think 34 of them. And so, do you also have issues as to how this case is being prosecuted?
No, absolutely. I agree with my friend Samuel, and I think he's spoken very well. Look, I am a stickler for the rule of law, and there's a reason for it. I remember the late President Umar Yar'Adua. One of the things that endeared majority of Nigerians towards him was his continued insistence on the rule of law. The man was so honest about this that he even admitted that the elections that produced him were flawed. And he initiated the process of correcting those elections to the point that we have now gotten to in this country today. The rule of law, without the rule of law, without an environment where it is clear that people can seek redress fairly and obtain redress fairly, you cannot attract investment. You cannot, whether it is local or foreign investment, you cannot create an environment where enterprise and trade can result in development of society, can result in the economic growth that will bring people out of poverty. We must not underplay the importance of what is happening and playing right before our very eyes. So for me, if Farotimi has libeled or defamed Babalola, let him face the consequence in accordance to the provisions of the laws of the country, in accordance to best practice with regards to the rule of law, in accordance to best practice with regards to how defamation is treated internationally, because we are not an island. Look, everybody all over the world is watching all of this drama. Foreign investors will do their due diligence when they want to come into Nigeria, and they will see cases like this. They will see these news clips and these videos and all of this, analysis that we're all doing on air, and they will form opinions with regards to whether or not this country is suitable for them to take a bet on, for them to bring their billions of dollars that we're desperately in need of. So for me, you can't pursue a matter that is clearly, for every fair-minded person, clearly a defamatory issue, whether it is against Chief Babalola, whether it is against the entirety of the judiciary, whether it is against other practitioners within that system. It's defamation. Bring the man, let him prove the things that he's claimed in his book. If he fails to prove it, let him suffer the consequences severely. But to criminalize it and to use the instrument of states to beat him down, to humiliate him, to put him in handcuffs when he has not killed anybody or stolen anybody's property is an overreach. You are painting a bad image for our country before the entire world, and nobody wins in this situation. Even if Babalola eventually succeeds in jailing Farotimi because he has some sort of influence and can influence, decisions of court, according to the allegations of Farotimi, by the way, it will be a Pyrrhic victory. He still wouldn't have won because Nigeria will be the loser.
All right, Mr. Shogbejo, just a minute. I want to bring the conversation to Mr. Arabambi. I just want to get your thought on what they are saying, because for some Nigerians, the issue of due process, it's for them one of the biggest issues here, whether due process has been followed or whether the rule of law has been broken in this process.
Well, rule of law has not been broken in this process. I'm not a lawyer, but let me read to them what the Criminal Code, Section 375 of the Criminal Code Act. And I want most of the lawyers that speak here that any law that contradicts the Constitution of Nigeria, to the essence of such inconsistency, such law edit will be set aside and Constitution of Nigeria reigns supreme. That is supremacy of the Constitution. Now, Section 375 of the Criminal Code says any person who publishes any defamatory matter is guilty of misdemeanor and is liable to imprisonment of 1 year. And any person who publishes any defamatory matter knowing it to be false is liable to imprisonment of 2 years. That's Section 375 of the Criminal Code, not Ekiti. Then Section 373 of the Criminal Code says defamation matter is defined in Section 373 of the Criminal Code Act as a matter likely to injure reputation of any person by exposing him or her to hatred, contempt, ridicule, likely to damage any person in the profession, trade by injury to his or her reputation. I think we need to get this matter clear. We should not be talking about investors. When somebody said the judiciary is corrupt, the judges of the Supreme Court are criminal, please, we should not trivialize this issue. These are people that have built their name over the years like Delefa Moruti. So we should not come on here and will not be dodging away. This is, and I know this is a law of Nigeria. If any lawyer wants to come and tell me now that this law will now have to be abated for Ekiti law, well, no problem, the MBR listen to them and the judge listen to them. But with what is said there, once you publish and something to injure the reputation of another, it is a criminal defamation. That is what the law says here, and this has not been repealed by the president. That was what the Attorney General was saying. and GT Ogunye. This was what they said. I am reading this for lawyer. They should come out and read this and interpret. It's a simple English that once you do such a thing, you are liable to imprisonment of 2 years. It is a criminal, defamation. So people saying, oh, they criminalize it, and we should look at billions of dollars. People want to come and invest in Nigeria. For me, it is not a take-home. For me, because when you are coming to Nigeria, it's not for you as an investor to come and be insulting the stability of Nigeria. Now, lawyers are involved now. Didn't they have their right, to pursue, the legitimacy of clearing their name? We do not look at, that young man is a lawyer, but he did not deliberately, and you even published in a book. But my take home is this: as a lawyer, he knows it's against their ethics and conduct. He knows, and he went ahead to do it, so he should face.
There are a lot of issues here, but before we go, because we're going to go on break in just a moment. I've listened to Mr. Shokbito and Mr. Kwaloga, what they are saying, and this is what some Nigerians are saying, not all, that perhaps it is not about if it has a case to prove, right, and that of course it should face its day in court, but that the process that has led up to this point, perhaps for them, violate his right. And I want you to speak to that, but that will be after the break. When we return, Standpoint will continue in a moment.
Yanga, they come.
But why won't I be happy? Not just because it's festive season. It's moments of friendship and 60 million reasons to love. Small pepper.
Babes, this dress is given. Don't forget the earrings. Those are 2 reasons already.
The best reasons will make your heart beat faster. Come on! And make every laugh worth it. It's all about holding hands, sharing and enjoying happy times together.
Have more reasons to be happy with Naija dramas, football, and more smiles on DSTV this festive season. DSTV, your home of entertainment.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Standpoint. We're still talking about the book written by Dele Farotimi, Nigeria and its criminal justice system, and all of the issues and controversies and cases in court now coming out from that particular book. I've been speaking with Executive Director at Open Society of Justice Reform Project, Samuel Akpologun, who is joining us virtually. We've also been speaking with Segun Shokbito, who is the Chairman, Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network, also joining us virtually. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us. And in the studio, we have Mr. Bayomi Arabambi, who is a Labour Party chieftain. Also, thank you for staying with us. But just before the break, I'd asked you a question that people who whether supporting Dele Farotimi or not, do not have a problem with him facing, his day or having his day in court. But just for them is the due process and all of the activities that has led up to this particular point for them has to do with a human rights issue. And I was asking you to respond to that.
Well, thank you very much. With respect to human rights, I think this has to be explained, by the people that went to arrest him. Because sometimes, when police, just look at the governor of, governor of Kogi State. He was invited. They were looking for him until when they turned himself in. So I don't know how he had been conducting the invitations, extended to him. But one thing I closely look at in that petition was that Baba Babalola said criminal defamation, petition against criminal defamation. It was very, very specific. Petition against criminal defamation against that man. It's not just defamation. Lawyers know the way to undo matters. Because when you have a opposing lawyer, this one will teach his client, go to this direction. This one will teach go to this direction so that I can delay this matter. But they said criminal defamation. I don't know how far, when he was invited, if he failed to turn up, But I think even if his right is violated, I want to admonish Nigerians, when you are talking about the way he was arrested, talk about the way, what he did wrong, even to the people that in my life. It goes together. You don't have to look at an individual that, the police went to, though on TV, I saw them when they went there, it was not refundable. One lawyer said his phone was seized, which had not been established. I think maybe they went to invite him. They said they took him by road from here to Ekiti. Fine. If all those ones against, fundamental rights, he can also sue police for enforcement of fundamental rights on that. But this, I am only, concerned about, Nigerians that are talking. We should not be twisting our, the Constitution. Then we should not now be looking at somebody because of whatever he's doing or because of wherever, he has his belief concerning, anybody, to the other people. Like a lot of them, as I read now, that somebody saying, why will a 95-year-old man be pursuing that case? It's around nonsense. How could you say 95-year-old man? He has children, for God's sake. The Farotimi also has his son. If he want to defame somebody without fact, then he must have his day. But the way and manner, police arrested him. If it is true, they said the bond, it's a camera didn't show that in his office that, it was manhandle. But it was a manhandle, it's beyond the police to manhandle anybody whom you have invited. But if the person has been invited and they fail to honor invitation, the police can now have the right to come and enforce, such an arrest. And if the person refuses, they will now go ahead to charge him for, resisting arrest. Most of these things are in the criminal code. So if his right was violated with the way he was arrested, though the video I saw, he was just going with them. Nobody know the altercation that happened in his office. I'm not privy to that. But one is able to prove that the IG is there for him to exercise the fundamental right, and find them. But I know court normally award costs against police when you violate, the right of any Nigerian concerning privacy.
All right, so let me bring Mr. Akpologo back to the conversation. Mr. Akpologo, we will move to other issues in this case in just a moment. But is it also possible, because I think it was the former Attorney General of Ekiti State who was speaking to this issue and had said due process was followed. Lawyers, again, like I said, seem to be divided on this. But is it also possible, because this is a criminal defamation case, is it possible that the rule of law was followed, but sometimes the rule of law doesn't look exactly how we want it to look like, and so it looks like human rights have been abused?
Now, thank you very much for that question, and then I thank our fellow participants in this program. The gentleman that just spoke was clear. He made it clear that he's not a lawyer. And so some of the statements he made can be easily understood. The truth is this: I'll need to make it clear that this is not a matter of how you see it. It's a matter of the black and white position of the law. The position of the law is that nobody can be prosecuted over a criminal matter that is not stated in a criminal law of that particular place. So, although the gentleman quoted criminal code, but the criminal code must be applicable in the place where you are prosecuting the person. In Ekiti State has gone beyond criminal code and are now dealing with Ekiti State criminal law. In the Ekiti State criminal law, up until 2021, criminal defamation was there. But after 2021, there is a new 2022 law now of Ekiti State, which has removed all the provision for criminal defamation. Even Chief Babalola knows this. His chamber knows this. That's why they backpedaled and went to go and file under the Cybercrime Act. The one in Ekiti State now will die in natural death, evidently. Now, believing that there is a criminal defamation provided by the Cybercrime Act of 2015. What I'm saying is that one too has been repealed. So there's no more criminal defamation under the Cybercrime Act, except they want to go and charge him under any other state that still has follow criminal code law. Then they may be able to have a case. But if they are in Federal High Court under the Cybercrime Act, that case will fail. It will be a breach of the fundamental rights of Dele Farotimi, because it is against his right to prosecute him in a law that has been abrogated, a law that has been abolished. The law has already removed the criminal element of defamation. Now, that is one leg of the story. The other leg of the story is that criminal defamation is actually not right. the general international position is that all countries should decriminalize criminal defamation, because it is like someone arresting you for not paying your child's school fees and prosecuting you. It's a civil wrong.
That's a futuristic conversation, in that at this point in time, criminal defamation is still very valid in most states in the country. So, Mr. Akpologo, I want to take the conversation to Mr. Shokmito, who is also joining us. Mr. Shokmito, let's bring you into the conversation. Just the same question that I posed to Mr. Akpologo. Because, again, let's look at the caliber of the person who, also said he has been defamed. He also has his reputation to fight for. And like Mr. Rababi said, when this kind of statements are made, it doesn't just affect the person who the statement has been made against. His family members are also to be considered. And like we always say, the internet never forgets, and it's in a book, which means that, it will never be forgotten.
You know, on this issue, I honestly, if I wanted to play a hypothetical devil's advocate, I don't support the approach that the learned luminary has taken. But if I wanted to speak on his behalf, I would have said, if I had stopped short of the high-handed display of power and influence in the manner that Mr. Farotimi had been apprehended from Lagos, a cleaner, allegedly, just to be clear, since I wasn't there, but we saw videos, we saw interviews, a cleaner allegedly beaten, slapped by the policemen, phones and devices picked up. At least I saw that on one of the videos online. If all of that hadn't happened, if Mr. Farotimi had suddenly just gotten a court summons that, look, the case has been filed against you, you are being sued for 1 trillion naira, for example, I suspect that today, majority of Nigerians will be looking at Farotimi and thinking, hey, this guy is in trouble. You have to prove your case today, and that would be about that. It would just be a case of people wondering whether Farotimi can actually prove the things that he alleged in his book against Chief Babalola. But the moment Chief Babalola seemed to have crossed almost into what lawyers call forum shopping, looking for ways under the law to prosecute Farotimi, in a criminal manner, he lost the sympathy of most Nigerians. First of all, you started by arresting him summarily and charging him to court almost the same day. The speed of that case was also quite shocking. And then to find that very same day, Farotimi landed in prison. Now it's clear that he was wrongfully imprisoned based on what we now know about the law. And then you move from there, you go and try to file, a case against him in the Federal High Court under the Cyber Crimes Act. It's obvious that you are shopping for something, beyond the justice that you actually do deserve. So I support Chief Babalola's quest, clear his name. I have absolutely no issues with that. The allegations that were made against him are grievous. We know how serious Nigeria's issues are with regards to the judiciary. We know that a lot of Nigerians believe that the judiciary is not doing well enough for Nigerians. So,
Mr. Shokmito, let me put you on hold. I have very limited time left. My apologies. I just want to quickly get Mr. Arabambi's thoughts on what both of you have said. What do you make of what they have said?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I want them to do away with this issue of somebody using power. I want them to do away with the issue of nobody doing forum shopping. And I want the two gentlemen to know something. If you go into the market square, if you slap me, don't tell me the intensity, about which I'm going to return my own slap. It is not your right to tell me, oh, I slap you gently, then why did you heavily slap me back? It is my right to slap you heavily back, because the audacity you have in the first instance to look at me and give me a dirty slap in the public, I will give you a more dirty slap. So it's not for you now to now be telling me that, oh, mine is heavier than your own. Now, the man that said the entire judiciary system is corrupt, which you have also said, that the justices of Lagos State are corrupt, he must have to come and prove it. Now, I've just asked a question, which the other man, dodged away from that. Section 373 and Section 375 of the Criminal Code. Is zeal in existence? does the law of Ekiti, can it override, a constitutional provision in line with the supremacy of the Nigerian Constitution? Because, I said I'm not a lawyer. I only read it out. My take is this. When you want to have sympathy for the way and manner you are allegation of forum shopping, please have sympathy for all the lawyers. He was not the one that sent them to law school, please. They have children, they have wives, they have families. Have sympathy for them. None of you is even talking about sympathy for the people that he said they were corrupt. And even today, let me even tell you, do you know this matter in question? It is about an erroneous mistake made by the Supreme Court then, where somebody has purchased a land, he paid you, but because you went to court against the Lagos government and you won the matter, you now want to claim the entire land, and the man went to court and said, no, you have sold the portion to me. It is the same people that now gave job, to Farotimi at that time. So it was not even a question of anybody trying to call it judiciary. The people Babalola work for are the people that paid, and they have their receipt. So
I want to take, because of time, just in 30 seconds, quickly to you, 30 seconds. He has now been dragged to, or reported to, a petition has now been submitted to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, seeking the removal of the lawyer from the role of Nigerian legal professional. Some will say that that's a bit too high-handed. What 30 seconds? What do you make of that?
No, it's not too high-handed because it is in their own legal professional rule, which they know. The rule is 51, 52B, 53A, 1G of their professional conduct by lawyer. It is stated by the legal professional committee. Right. Once he has violated it, he has to go. Right.
So
once they are gone against it, he must be punished.
I have another guest waiting, so I want to also give 30 seconds each to Mr. Shokbitu and Mr. Akpologu. For your final words, please, 30 seconds each.
I think that the attempt to debar Mr. Farotimi is a joke because defamation cannot be so severe that you deprive the man of his. What is the crime he has committed? Look, let's focus on the common good for the country. This whole case is being approached and prosecuted in a manner that will leave Nigeria as the loser. We must pursue the rule of law and the climate that will promote, progress for everybody in the country.
Mr. Akpologu, your final thought, 30 seconds as well.
Well, one, there is the presumption that Dele Farotimi is guilty. That's what we must put off our mind. And number two, we must understand that both the judiciary is now on trial, and even the integrity of Chief Afe Babalola are on trial. This idea of forum shopping and then high-handedness are already confirming some of the allegations of Dele Farotimi, which should not be. I would rather that Chief Afe Babalola stop to the civil proceedings and let Dele Farotimi have his way in court.
All right, so we have to leave the conversation there. Just a lot to talk about, but that's the much that we could take on this conversation. Executive Director at Open Society on Justice Reform Project, Samuel Akpologu, thank you so much for your time. And Chairman, Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network, Segun Shokbitu, thank you so much also for your time. And finally, Labour Party Chieftain, who joined us in the studio, Abayomi Arabambi, thank you so much as well for your time. Right, you're watching Standpoint. We're going to take a break now. Is a Yuletide season, Nigerians are struggling to access cash. Why is this artificial? Is it a reason why cash isn't circulating? That's our next conversation. Stay with us.